Hey, I'm Orlando Jones, and I just want you to know that the Moana Nui Podcast will be starting soon. Stay tuned, yo.
I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, I just want to say, Moana Nui, I choose you!
Aloha mai kako, everyone. Welcome to the Moana Nui Podcast. It is great to be with all of you this evening. This here, June 29th. How the heck did we get through half of 2023 already? But here we are. And Dana and I are really happy to be together with you guys tonight because lately it seems our schedules have been a little bit out of alignment, so it's good to be back together again. My name is Moana. For those who are tuning in for the first time, I am the host and founder of the podcast. I'm also a children's book author for the Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea series, editor for the Wildcard Chronicles series here at Burning Spear Comics, and an advocate and champion for our AANHPI and all peoples of color communities. And as always, well, maybe not as always, but now, today, I'm happy to be joined again by my sis Dana, and I'll let her introduce herself so that you can know her too if you don't already.
All right. Aloha, everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you tuned in earlier, you enjoyed some great interviews that we had at MomoCon with our guest that was featured in tonight's episode with Colleen O'Shaughnessy. We had Michaela Jill Murphy, who's best known as Jessie Flowers, Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Aquarius Taught Me that we featured on our 7 o'clock Eastern slot. So if you missed it, don't worry. Check us out on our YouTube channel to watch that episode and hear those interviews that we had at MomoCon. But of course, to let you know about myself, I am the other half of the Moana Nui Podcast. I am a photographer, event planner, voice actor, and a whole lot more. And of course, I have to hang it back over to the yin to my yang, the Renaissance woman of our time, the woman who is running 45 miles per hour while still trying to do 20 different things. I'm going to hand it over to my sis, the lovely, the beautiful Moana.
Thank you, Dana. And before we get started and introduce our wonderful guest tonight, I wanted to acknowledge and really announce that Dana and I on the Moana Nui Podcast, we now officially have our sponsor. It's called Papa'ola Lokahi, and it is an organization in Hawaii who is focused on improving Native Hawaiian health and outcomes. With particular focus on culture, mental health, and all of the important issues that are affecting our community. So going forward, you'll see some changes and adjustments in our content. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it, especially for those who either have been to the islands or have wanted to go. You'll get to see some of the real life issues and conversations that are ongoing in the island. So beyond the typical commercial pitch, trying to get you to come, we'll share with you all a lot about our community, what makes us special, and the ongoing challenges that we do face. So shout out to the Papa'ola Lokahi family, and we'll continue to share their message and highlight their partnerships as we go forward. So mahalo to them for supporting our show and helping us to keep this platform going and expand the wonderful content that we get to offer with our community.
Yes.
All righty. So tonight we have a very special guest that I had the pleasure of meeting in person at Kauai Comic-Con earlier this year. I think it was in April. Most people know him from Comic Book Men. And so maybe he doesn't need an introduction, but I feel I love giving everybody their flowers, their lei, their kudos. So I'm gonna read his impressive bio, and then I'm gonna bring him on, and you all can get to know him a little bit more. So our guest tonight is Ming Chen. He entered the world of podcasting in 2007 as one of the architects behind Kevin Smith's Smodcast network. His first responsibilities included all the technical aspects of the network, as well as design, maintenance, and marketing of their online presence. And as their network grew and more shows were added, Ming was asked to create and co-host podcasts of his own, some of which you guys, I know for those who are watching from his channels, are surely familiar with them. But the award-winning I Sell Comics, the Smodcoast Morning Show, lots of S's. We need to hear about what's the story behind that. The Secret Stash, which is the official Comic Book Men companion podcast. And he can also be heard as an occasional guest on the massively popular Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast. In 2011, Ming joined the AMC hit show Comic Book Man, along with a shared universe co-founder, Michael Zapcic. Sorry, Michael. Ming's gonna show. I should have asked that question before he came on. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing the names correctly. But based out of Kevin Smith's comic book store, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in Red Bank, New Jersey, the show focuses on amazing comics and vintage toys and the stories behind them. It's the first TV show to use podcasting as part of its narrative. And based on the popularity of the show, Ming became a frequent featured guest at numerous conventions around the world, to include New York Comic-Con, Comic-Con Palooza in Houston, Walker Stalker Con, Heroes and Villains Fan Fest, Edinburgh Comic-Con, Calgary Comic-Con, Entertainment Expo, C2E2 in Chicago, and so much more. And it was at these conventions where Ming's podcast attracted his listeners and started to approach him for advice on starting their own shows. And that became the genesis behind a shared universe podcast studio, which we'll be talking about tonight. So with that said, let us bring on Ming to the show. Aloha, Ming. Welcome.
Aloha, guys. How are you?
Doing good, doing well. Thank you so much for making time in your schedule to be with us here on the show. I know we have a lot of folks who are looking forward to this episode, and so we're really excited to have you.
It was many months in the making, my friend. Yeah, I mean, I literally think we scheduled this when we were at Kauai Comic-Con way back in the beginning of April. And,
yes.
You know, I live my life, as Vin Diesel says, a quarter mile at a time.
That's right.
Right? And so I was like, when do you want to do this? June 29th. It's like that's forever from now. And now here it is. So, yes, very honored to be here with you guys.
Yes. Yeah, we totally get it too. I mean, and the only reason why it was like June, because I was like, we're already booked up for, like
love it.
May.
I love it. And, even better, your intro and all the people you interviewed at MamoCon, all my favorite people. I party with Michaela Murphy, Veronica Taylor.
He is so awesome.
And I last saw Orlando Jones at a con in LA. And, what a great guy. I was like, hey, can we joke about that? I think he was in a movie called Double Team, or with Eddie Griffin, or Double Team, or something like that. And you start busting out lines. So this is why I go to conventions, so I can geek out with these people that I've seen on movies and TV for sure.
Exactly, I feel you on that.
I love Orlando Jones. Like, we got to talk to him at BlurredCon last year, and he's so amazing, so down to earth, and like generous with his time. Yes. I think we were supposed to have like 10 minutes, and we sat with him for almost half an hour. So,
by the way, I don't know why it took me this long, but I learned the meaning of the word blurred. Like, I thought it was like otaku. I thought it was like an anime term. And I was like, wait, what blurred? Black nerd. So cool. I don't know why it took me that long to realize that, but better late than never, I guess. So I love it. I love it though. I love it.
Yes.
It is a great con. We should get you there too. Let's talk to you.
It would be an honor to be at BlurredCon. I didn't even know that. When and where is BlurredCon?
We're
So
coming.
Blurred is here in DC,
Mhm.
and it's next month, right, Dana?
Yes, it's
Wow,
actually next
sweet.
weekend.
Is it next weekend already? Oh my
Oh
god.
wow.
Okay, maybe
Yes.
not this year, but
Oh, if you would put in a good word for me, I would love to be there.
yeah, absolutely, we'd love to. What's up, Tony? Bob Corbeil and Ryan Robinson in the comments, guys. If you're here,
Yes.
feel free to engage. Drop some. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. We have a bunch, but we definitely want to make sure our audience is included in this conversation as well. Yes, Tony, we are back together again. I know. We're trying to improve those statistics. Those are the most important statistics.
It's the
Alrighty.
hustle
Well,
behind the scenes, making things happen. Moana's making stuff happen. I'm making stuff happen, and we
yes,
eventually meet in the middle.
that's right. It's all for the greatness of the show. You guys won't see it for a while,
Yes.
but we're lining up some really amazing things for this podcast. So
Yes.
it's great.
Mhm.
All right, but it's not about us. We here to talk about Ming. So,
Yes.
Ming, one of the first questions we love to ask our guests especially the first time they come on, is we like to start with the Pico, or your origin story. Tell us a little bit about yourself and something special about your hometown where you're from. And I think with you, you've been to a bunch of different places, so would love to learn a little more about that.
Wow. Geez, where do I start? I guess most people know me from Comic Book Men, the AMC TV show that ran for 7 seasons between 2012 and 2018. Some people may have listened to some of our podcasts that we started a little bit before then. Uh, Other people might know me as just a frequent collaborator with filmmaker, podcaster, director Kevin Smith. And then I guess the other people would know me as a guy who just goes to a million comic book conventions every year. But I mean, I guess I would describe myself as just a nerd looking for a home, right? When I was younger, I was into, the X-Men and comic books and Batman and toys. Collect a lot of toys. And back when I was back not that long ago, even, being a nerd wasn't that cool. It's very isolating. Um, if you try to talk about the X-Men or Vibranium or the Force with people, you would get blank stares back. And I always hated that because I knew all the stuff that I liked was really, really cool. And I was just trying to tell everybody else how cool it was. And nobody was listening to me at the time. So, eventually you find the people that also understand you. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work. But in high school many years ago, out of a class of 400 people, I found the two guys who understood me. So I would go to their houses every day after school. We'd play Nintendo. We'd play role playing games. We would watch James Cameron's movies over and over again. And those were the two guys who would go to what was then our version of Comic Cons, which were church basements, VFW halls, and sometimes our local mall would put on like a little Comic Con every couple months. And it was cool, but very isolating. Um, not yeah, it's just we had this whole universe that we discovered that we wanted to tell everybody about, and no one was listening, and no one was willing to listen, just because it wasn't cool. So, but yeah, kind of fast forward to now. I'm glad I didn't listen to the people who thought they knew better, who told me comic books were for kids, that playing video games and loving pop culture was going to get me nowhere in life. And I'm glad I stuck to what I loved, and it ended up kind of working out. So, I guess I'm most well known for being a nerd. Really, I don't, unlike Moana, I don't write, not yet, anyways. I can't draw. Really, talent wise, I don't really have too many, but I'm known for being a nerd, so I guess that worked out.
That's some talent.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and then along the way, I discovered the love of podcasting. Uh, um, a love ingrained to me, shown to me by Kevin Smith, who is one of the top podcasters out there, and one of the guys who has figured out how to make money doing this.
Yes.
And that's something I fell madly in love with. luckily, that was something that the rest of the world did want to do. So that's something that I learned very early on that I love that I'm passing on to other people right now via a trio of podcast studios that I've built in the New Jersey area, where we teach people how to launch and record podcasts. A place that we called a shared universe podcast studio. The meaning behind that name is twofold. One, as you guys know, in the comic book universes, the heroes and villains share their universes constantly. It's one of the best things about comics. Batman, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might have to go to Gotham to help out Batman in Gotham City. Muhammad Ali might get kidnapped along with Superman by aliens, and they're forced to fight against each other. Things like that is pretty amazing. And as we know now, the multiverses and the comic book movies that everyone has watched and loves now, the universes are shared all the time. The other meaning is, all the podcasters that come in and use our space, they're from everywhere: real estate, sports, geeks, car enthusiasts, and they all share their universes in our space. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Hometowns, though, I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I think I did a count on how many places I've lived with somebody else the other day. I think I'm up to 10 or 12.
Okay.
So, but I grew up mainly in the Midwest, Michigan, Indiana, and ended up going to school, University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. My parents still live there. And yeah, it was these Midwestern towns where I learned to be a geek. Um, the one or two comic book shops that did eventually open up, I was there constantly. And yeah, there was one place in particular when I was in college that opened up. I'll give them a shout out. A place called Volta Midnight Comics, which started out as a little one floor, 100 square foot space, and has grown to a trio of Eisner Award winning comic book shops. So they were also guys that were kind of like, hey, you're never going to get anywhere selling comics for a living, and now they're highly successful at it. So um, yeah, the towns I grew up in, good places eventually to be a geek. So we had one store that had that sold 20-sided dice and D&D modules. So yeah, these are the places I hung out in, and these are the people I gravitated toward. Which sounds funny now. Now you can go to any comic book convention. I mean, their whole convention is dedicated to tabletop gaming. It's great, right? So
Yes.
yeah. But long story short, to anybody listening out there, follow what you love. It'll probably work out for you, even if it's not cool yet.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with that message. Ming for president.
Okay.
Let's see. So we got a couple questions
Go
from
for
the
it.
audience. Do you feel like the comic Comic-Con scene has changed?
I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely from when we were going. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, they were small, very niche when I started going. If you got 100 people to go to your con in the 80s and 90s, you were doing something right. Yeah, I mean, now you walk into the convention center, even the smaller conventions are 3-day affairs, take up entire convention centers, and they feature multiple celebrity guests, hundreds of vendors, hundreds, panels throughout the whole weekend. Um, Artists of note, artists that have actually worked on Marvel, DC, Image, IDW. Yeah, it's definitely grown. I love it, although it's kind of, when we were doing it back in the day, it was for fun, right? We were doing it out of the love and fun. Now, you look at some of the ones, and you can kind of tell they're doing it. It's a business. It's a business.
Yeah.
It's a multi-million-dollar business that generates many thousands of dollars, not just for the convention, but for the city that they're held in now. So it's become major industries. If you look at, even like San Diego is probably the biggest example. I think they said they make like 40% of their revenue in that 1 week during San Diego Comic Con. I think things like Dragon Con in Atlanta, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Now when you throw a convention, a lot of people measure by, all right, what's the economic impact? That's the term they use on
Yeah.
the city that they're in. So they've grown. I love it though, because it means I don't get the blank stares anymore. I can walk into a building with 10,000 people who know what I'm talking about. And not only that, but we can have a really cool discussion about it, or we can go to a panel with the guy who created the stuff that we're talking about
Right.
and ask them questions directly about the thing we're talking about. So it's pretty amazing what things have grown to. And and if you look, they're getting bigger. I was at one time afraid that the pandemic was going to be the end of Comic Cons, and I got really bummed out for a second. I was like, wow, what if I never go to a Comic Con again? Like, what a scary thought. And it could have happened, but luckily, not only luckily did that not happen, but I mean, they've grown. There are multiple conventions every weekend now, and as far as I go, I'm not a Chris Evans or a Chris Hemsworth or any of the Chris's, but I'm getting booked at conventions every weekend. Almost until the end of the year. So it's pretty cool. I mean, not only is it what I love to do, but I love seeing Comic Cons in this industry and this type of fun grow, and having other people who may have not been to a con before get exposed to it. So I think the health of the industry is pretty good. I mean, long story short, this change has just gotten way bigger. It's gotten way bigger, but way more fun too, and more accessible for sure.
Definitely.
Exactly. Well, Ming, another question coming from the audience, of course, beauty of conventions. A lot of people get exposed to indie comics. Do you read any indie comics? And if yes, what is your current favorite indie book?
KY Run 49, great question. So I read a lot of indie books, and this is why. I think the next big thing is going to come from an indie property. We've pretty much all the big characters and teams from Marvel, DC, Image, all their rights have been bought up by the movie companies already. So if you have a favorite character, chances are they're probably working on either a TV series or a movie about them. And chances are you already know about them. The next great story is going to come from an independent publisher or author, and it's going to come way out of left field, and they're going to come up with a comic book character or concept or storyline, which we've never heard from before, and is going to take over the world. I mean, we've kind of seen already. Walking Dead technically was an independent book.
Mhm.
A lot of so many independent properties from innovative creators and writers. They're going to be the next best thing. So anytime I'm at a convention, they're usually full of booths with indie creators just trying to get the word out on their books. And I always make it a point to stop by to give them some encouragement. A lot of the times, if I can't get away from my table, they come to me, and God bless them. They're like, "Hey, this is a book I'm working on. I would love if I could give you a copy, if you would read it, and tell me what you think." And one of these people is going to be the next big, Walking Dead or Paper Girls or Y the Last Man or something like this. I am currently promoting and loving a company called Blue Juice Comics. They're named after the blue milk from Star Wars, and they have a comic book called The Accelerators, and it's a time travel story their hook is that there's a time travel device called a donut. It's a blue glowing donut shaped object that will send you forward in time, but you can't go back. So it's pretty cool. And in that world, they also run a thing called the Time Games, where they can go back and kidnap warriors from different eras and pit them against each other in a gladiator ring. They call it the Time Games. So
Oh my God.
they'll grab World War II soldiers and pit them against Roman era war soldiers or something like that. And that's what they do for entertainment in the future, which is pretty cool. So the book is called The Accelerators. Pretty amazing property and pretty amazing book. I'm hoping it gets turned into a TV show or a movie someday.
Yes.
Definitely check it out. The
Yeah.
Accelerators, Blue Juice Comics.
Blue Juice Comics. Alrighty, y'all. You heard it here. Check it out.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Intrigued.
And Ming, I love that you brought that up because a lot of people don't realize webtoons, a lot of the webtoons that are being created, which is a version of indie comics in a way, but online, are being turned into shows on Netflix. Netflix is churning these out lately with a lot of those and things like that. And a lot of them are getting really big, like Lord Olympus and things like that. So don't sleep on the independent webtoons, indie comics, and everything else.
Yeah, a lot of those just started from some guy in his bedroom on a laptop. I was like, oh, I got a good idea, and putting pen to paper, and maybe they drew their own book, or maybe they hired an artist and they published it themselves using a site on the internet, and got it out there and got somebody's attention. So you never know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Looks like another one from the audience also coming from is Ming. What was your favorite comic book growing up?
Excellent question. My favorite comic book and the very first one that I ever got was Avengers number 214. On the cover is a great cover of Iron Man fighting the Ghost Rider.
Nice.
And it was a pretty amazing cover. And in the background, you see Captain America and Tigra and Archangel kind of watching the fight. Worried about their friend Iron Man. Fighting the villain with the flaming skull, the Ghost Rider. It's the one that pretty much changed my life. When I was in first grade, one of my classmates had an extra copy and he gave it to me. And it was the first comic I read cover to cover. It was the first one that I got, the first one I got to keep for myself. And it's tough. Anytime anyone's like, hey, who's your favorite comic book character? I was like, hey, can I just pick a whole team?
Right.
So I started out reading the Avengers. I loved all the good guys. So that was my favorite and very first one growing up. I still have it. And it's kind of one that I make a point to buy anytime I see it. So if I'm at a comic book shop outside of my hometown, or maybe I see a cool copy at a comic book convention, I'll pick it up. Just it's my way of giving back, I guess. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Team Ghost Rider right here. That was maybe that's why I ride motorcycles right now. Maybe not.
Oh, I mean, I think that's a pretty big influence right there, my friend. Pretty big influence.
Oh, I loved it. Love it. Okay, let's see. I think
that's the one that changed everything. That one definitely kickstarted my love of comics, and never really looked back.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Which Comic-Con guest did you most want to meet in all the conventions that you've been to?
I mean, there's so many, right? I think the one that comes to mind, I got to meet a couple times. Carrie Fisher from Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
Rest in peace. I love Carrie Fisher's. They would, whenever you took a photo with her, she insisted that her dog Gary Fisher was in the photo. And Gary was this big French bulldog with his tongue hanging out of his mouth, and I think Gary Fisher became kind of iconic, especially after Carrie died. Like he was kind of like the last remaining connection to her. So so much so that for a while Gary Fisher would show up at Comic-Cons as a featured guest. I think you pay $10 to take a picture with him, and you could get his paw print, as an autograph. And I think he donated a bunch of money to animal causes.
That's very cool.
Which was cool. But like literally anyone from the original Star Wars universe, those are the people I want to meet. And I've been fortunate enough to meet all the ones that are still alive. I think for the most part, no Harrison Ford yet, but pretty much everybody else I've at least got to meet for a second. So that's definitely one. In 2017, Wizard World Philly threw this huge convention where pretty much all the Avengers showed up. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, probably more. Most of the Back to the Future cast showed up. It was pretty crazy that year, and
Hmm.
I got to meet a lot of them, which was pretty amazing.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
I was there. That was a really good con.
Yeah, basically anybody from '80s sci-fi
Hmm.
that does conventions, those are the people I want to meet immediately. So,
That's awesome.
Nice, nice.
but Star Wars is my big fandom. So,
Yeah, so I gotta ask, like, what's your favorite Star Wars
Star Wars.
character?
Oh, it's a great question. I think like everyone chooses Boba Fett, right? Boba Fett's a pretty cool character. Spawn the Mandalorian is iconic, mysterious, awesome. Um, but yeah, lately I've been lamenting that we never got to really see enough of Darth Maul.
Ooh, I agree.
Darth Maul and Ray Park, who plays him, like really great. He does such a great character. Died way too soon.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
feel, which is one of many things wrong with the Phantom Menace. I know he gets to come back in the Clone Wars, and then we see him in the Solo movie, and hopefully we see a lot more of him
Yes.
because I was like, how are they going to top Darth Vader? Like, Darth
Yeah.
Vader is one of the most iconic villains
Yes.
in history, and I think they either they matched it or at least came very close with Darth Maul for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. More Sith, please.
Oh yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Love it, love it.
Let's see. It looks from Nick from the audience asks, how many speakeasies have you found on your con travels?
I mean, so I travel a lot, my friends. I go to Comic Cons almost every weekend,
Sure does.
and I do them because I love I love them. I love being in that environment. To me, the Comic Con is the best 3-day party of any weekend. But it also gives me the opportunity to travel and explore many cities that I probably wouldn't go to otherwise. And one of the things I found out is in most cities, there's usually a hidden bar somewhere, a
Yes.
speakeasy like Al Capone, secret handshake, secret passcode, a bar sometimes hidden behind another bar, hidden in plain sight somewhere. And for some reason, I'm fascinated with them. I just think they're cool. I think it's a product of a bygone era. We don't need to hide bars anymore. Prohibition's over. But the fact that you could go to a really cool bar that nobody else knows about, even the people who live in that town, maybe even the person in the next building over and in the next room over doesn't know it's there, and find it and kind of be like, all right, this is kind of our secret. I found a cool place. I'm only going to bring people I love here. Is to me a very cool thing. So I'm trying to find one. I'm currently in Lansing, Michigan, for Capital City Comic Con, and I've yet to find a hidden bar in Lansing, Michigan. But we're gonna, if there is one here, I'm gonna find it.
All right. Yeah, talk to some of the real locals. They may be able to guide you to where you need
Oh yeah,
to go.
yeah, for sure, for sure. There's one somewhere here. I can feel it.
Yes.
Yes. So Bob just made a comment, which was one of the things that I was going to touch on, is that Ming is the most down-to-earth, personable, friendliest, welcoming guest I've ever met at a con.
Thank you.
And I can definitely agree with that sentiment. So I know you love going to these events to engage with the community. What's one of the most memorable moments that you had interacting with the fans and everything?
I mean, I think I love that Comic Book Man was pretty much accessible to anyone from the ages of 4 to like 90. Like I've met grandmothers, I've met entire families that watch it together. I think that's probably my favorite part. I love meeting the little kids who watch it. And I mean, I never would have thought that me and my friends making fun of each other in a comic book shop would appeal to children. But for some reason, they love our wackiness. I guess they love our interactions, and we're based in a comic book world and talking about pop culture. So I guess it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But I never thought that kids would like it. I would meet a group of kids. They're like, "Oh man, we would watch the show and then get together in the playground later and talk about it."
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, really? Like, I remember doing that when I was a kid. Like but like we would talk about cool shows like the A-Team and Knight Rider. not like comic book men. Like I don't think we measure up to Knight Rider or the 18, but yeah, I guess by those kids telling me that, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
I've talked to some parents who are like, oh yeah, my kid loves the show. We don't let him watch it until he finishes his homework. I'm like, wait, you use comic book men as like a carrot on a stick?
Yeah.
But it worked. I was like,
Mhm.
that's cool, man. Like that's really, I thought that was, I think that's really cool for sure. So those are always memorable moments. I think two memorable moments that come to mind. I did a con in the next time over from one that I grew up in. Town called Elkhart, Indiana. There's a pretty cool convention there called Hall of Heroes Con. I grew up in the next town over. I'm at my table and a guy comes up and I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. What's your name?" And it turned out to be my best friend from middle school, who I
Wow.
hadn't seen in 30 years. So we just lost touch because we didn't have the internet.
Mhm.
There was no Facebook back then.
Mhm.
When I moved away, and the only way to keep touch was to write letters or make a long distance phone call. And so we just kind of lost touch. So I met him and his kids, and I caught up with him. It literally been about 30 years since I last saw him. So that
Wow.
was cool. And then that was topped by I went to my panel afterwards. This guy raises his hand. I'm like, "Hey, what's your question?" He's like, "Hey, you probably don't remember me, but I was your best friend in grade school." And I was like, "Holy crap, I remember you!" Like, yeah. So that guy I literally not seen in 40 years.
That's awesome.
As I moved again, I moved around a lot, and we just lost touch because there was no means to, there was no texting back then or
Yes. No, nothing.
instant messenger or Facebook Messenger. So within a span of a day, yeah, I saw my two best friends from childhood,
Wow.
and it was the convention that brought us together. So
How
that
freaking
was
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah. That's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah, youngsters, you have it so easy now.
Yeah, you have it easy. Your friends can move away, and you can just you can text, you can FaceTime, you can
Yes.
Zoom. It's like you
Yes.
never left. But that wasn't the case when I was a kid.
No, sure wasn't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Wow.
Love it.
Now,
Well, thank you, Bob.
of course,
Appreciate it.
yes, definitely. Looks like someone also asked from the audience, Ming, what is your take on Endor? And are you looking forward to a season 2, if anything?
I loved Andor. I thought well acted. I mean, it was one of a lot of people are complaining about all the Star Wars stuff now. Some people didn't like Solo. Some people didn't like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And I Mandalorian third season, seeing a lot of complaints. Nerds love to complain, but I think Andor was one that everybody kind of like Mandalorian. Everyone kind of agreed that Andor was very well done. Um, I mean, I just love seeing heists in the Star Wars universe. So, and I love that they're able to kind of draw it out into the recruiting, the planning, the actual heist, and then the aftermath. So that was cool, and I'm glad they're doing a season 2 for sure. My take on kind of the Star Wars fandom now. I think people are complaining way too much. I mean, I understand a lot of it. We all have very high expectations for the universe and our beloved characters. But for me, I just like seeing more Star Wars, like as much Star Wars as I can get. I remember back in 83, 84, after Return of the Jedi, I remember reading an interview with George Lucas. He's like, "Yeah, well, I guess that's it. I, I think I'm done." He was kind of like, I kind of have had loose plans for a trilogy that came after and before, but I'm probably not going to do them. So, I hope you enjoyed the show." And I was like, "Wait, no more Star Wars, no more toys, no more like what? What am I going to do with my life?" And and since there were no more, and he made it public, think people just kind of, the Star Wars love just kind of faded out. If there's nothing to look forward to, the fandom not really dies, but it's diminished for sure. And they made it. There was the Ewoks and Droids TV shows, but that was pretty much it. And except so the people who kept Star Wars alive were guys like me and my friends who would watch it maybe once a month or once every couple months, and we kept it alive. So for a while, I thought there was going to be no more Star Wars anything. But in my head, I was like, wait, you guys built this huge, awesome world. Like, what about, like, you could do a whole separate thing on Boba Fett. You could, like, what about this guy's backstory? What about this? And so I'm just happy to see anything right now, because up until, between 83 and I guess really the special editions in 97, for 14 years, there was no new Star Wars stuff. So, so I feel very lucky that there's anything at all. And I feel good that there's probably more Star Wars properties and fandom right now than there ever has been. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Love it, fellow Star Wars fan. I like the Mandalorian series. I can see like what people are saying about season 3, but like you, I'm just like, just give me the universe, man. Like, I read some of the books too, so I was like, there's so much in here. Like, it's like a huge playground. So love seeing that they're expanding the universe.
I love that a lot of the Timothy Zahn stuff is back. So we're gonna be seeing Grand Admiral Thrawn very, very soon in the Ahsoka series.
Yes,
and who knows what else. So that's cool.
Yeah, lots of good stuff coming up for sure.
And we got a live action Ahsoka played by Rosario Dawson.
Right?
Like, how cool is that?
I love her so much. Even if my husband loves her too.
He's not alone.
It's all good. No, I really love her. She's very talented. All righty. Well, I think we hit all of the audience questions. Guys, keep them coming. If you got more, we can answer those. But I think I want to transition a little bit to your podcast and the latest thing that you and Mike are doing, A Shared Universe. Tell us like what got you to start the studio and like what is your hope and goals for what you guys want to do with it?
So a lot of the genesis is so podcasting. Like, I didn't even want to do it when it first came out. I'm more of a behind the scenes guy. I'll run all the technical stuff. I'll press buttons on a mixing board. I'll set up microphones and cameras. And that's pretty much what I did for Kevin when he started out. And I thought podcasting was just for people who had training or for famous people or for people with a radio background, and of which I have neither. So I didn't even want to start it, but Kevin launched his shows. And eventually he said he wanted to launch a whole network, and the network being his shows plus other people's shows that weren't just his. So he asked me and Mike to start one, and I didn't even want to do it, but he really pushed it, and he pretty much explained to me that, like, listen, this is for everybody. You don't need training. You don't need to be famous. You can be a regular person talking about any kind of passion to do this. And I was like, wait, so I could do a whole show about comic books and Star Wars and food, which are the 3 things that I love the most, I think. And he was like, dude, that counts. That's a podcast. You will get an audience who loves those same things. And he was right. From the first moment I got behind a microphone and did it, I got hooked immediately. And I think it was even more fun for me because I didn't go to a radio school. Like, I never did it. I never podcasted before. And I found out, I was like, hey, I not only can I do this, I can do this pretty decently and talk about all the stuff that I love. Like, what a cool format. And get that episode out worldwide to people worldwide. I was like, that's pretty amazing. So I got immediately hooked. And we started out with one. We would do one show every week. Then we started another show. So we would do 2 shows a week. And it was one of those things, just like being a nerd, once you find out about it, you want to show other people how much fun it is. So what happened with us is we started our podcast, then we got on Comic Book Men. Then we started going to conventions, and we would go to conventions, and it was cool. We would meet people and like, hey, we like the TV show. The TV show is really good, but what we really love are your podcasts. We love listening to your podcast episodes. And to me, that meant even more because the podcast we created ourselves, right? We produce it, we book our own guests, we choose our own direction. Like, it's all self-created. And for people to listen to that and really like it, it meant a lot, because it came from our hearts, right? So, eventually, the people we would meet, eventually it would be the questions transitioned into, hey, we really love your show. How do we make our own? We want to do what you guys do. We want to make a show like you guys do. You guys sound like you're having so much fun. You're talking about stuff that we want to talk about. How do we start? And, in a crowded convention floor, I'm like, all right, I can give you 10 minutes to teach you everything I know, which isn't a lot of time. But in 10 minutes, I'll tell you everything I know, and hopefully you get something out of it. But we had kind of always joked around like, hey, what if we open up like a classroom or a studio or something? We could teach like a real class and open it up to everybody. And eventually, around mid 2017, we finally did it. We rented out some cheap office space. We had all the gear already, and the idea was to not only teach classes but to rent out the space on an hourly basis to people who wanted to record their own shows. So, kind of the business model is like, hey, you want to start a podcast? Great. We teach a 2-hour class at the studio. So, sign up for that. We'll teach you everything we know, all the good stuff. We'll teach you all the mistakes we made so you don't do them either. And then any other questions you have, we will answer them for you because we've been doing this so long. And then the goal after they do that is for them to come back on a weekly basis and record their shows. So it's been going pretty well. There's a lot of potential in podcasting for sure. We opened up not a couple years before the pandemic. So if there was any good thing that came out of the pandemic, it created a lot of podcasters. A lot of people who thought about doing a podcast finally had all this time where they had nothing to do but podcast. And we showed a lot of them how to do it, which was cool. That helped out. Now the goal is to open more studios, to open one up in every city. And I also have this weird goal. Actually, it's not that weird, but podcasting is becoming a huge thing at Comic-Cons. If you go to any Comic-Con now, there's at least one podcaster set up at a booth that they purchase themselves. Maybe there's some podcasters going around the convention recording content. But what a lot of cons are doing now are building their own podcast stages and featuring local podcasters all throughout the weekend. And that's something I think should be at every convention. My ultimate dream is that, every con you have an artist alley, right? You have a whole row of artists. Why is there no podcast alley at a convention? A lot of podcasters are geeks. They talk about movies, they talk about comics. Some of them are focused solely on reviewing Comic-Cons even. So I envision a day where there's a podcast alley at every Comic-Con. Hopefully we're there to help it out or facilitate it. Maybe it's, Podcast Alley brought to you by a shared universe. Who knows? That's something I'm working toward though. So yeah.
I love that idea.
And honestly, if you're listening now,
we'll talk after the show. I'm going to connect you to some folks at the cons I work with.
Yeah, and honestly, anybody out there is like, hey, been thinking about starting a podcast, and I like going to Comic-Cons. The easiest way to get a free pass at a Comic-Con is to write them and tell them you have a podcast. Yep. More often than not, they will give you a press pass for you and your co-hosts for you to attend the con all weekend under a press badge. And it's smart because they know leading up to the con, you're going to tell everyone you're going. While you're at the con, you're going to tell everyone you're there. And then afterwards, you're going to record the recap podcast where you tell everybody what you did at the convention that weekend. It's smart marketing in my eyes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I love that you're, teaching people the good, the bad, the do's, the don'ts, and all of that. So to give folks just a little bit of a taste of what that might be, what would you say is the most important thing to making a successful podcast?
I think the most successful thing is consistency is huge. Since this format really has no set schedule, and you dictate how many episodes you want to put out and when and where and how. That also gives people the freedom to kind of put up episodes whenever they want, whenever they feel like it. However, if you kind of put one up whenever you want and you don't really have a set schedule, it's really hard to keep an audience. My analogy has always been like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones came on, I think 9:00 every Sunday, correct? Back in the day. And they were great episodes. Some of them left off on cliffhangers. And imagine, if you saw a really cool episode and then you went to watch it the next week, and HBO was kind of like, hey, so we didn't really feel like putting out an episode this week. Maybe we'll put one out next week. We're not really sure, but stay tuned. They would have lost their audience pretty quick. So same thing goes in podcasting. Think of it as you're by releasing your episodes, you're putting out the most beloved TV show out there, and your audience expects to get a new episode every week. That's how you should be thinking of it. That your audience is anticipating that episode every week, and honestly, that's how you grow your audience. You get some people, and you tell other people, it's like, hey, this show is awesome. They release once a week. Their stuff is gold. You need to listen to them, and that's how you grow. The other thing is you got to tell people about it. If you have a show, you can't just sit back and expect people to just find it. It's a pretty crowded world out there. You got to market. You got to tell people on social media. You got to tell all your friends and family. You got to tell everybody you meet on the street that you have a podcast and that everyone should be listening to it, and that it's amazing. And and you release it once a week, and it's gold. You really got to talk it up. You got to market it. And a lot of people don't do that. Marketing is another job. Being on social media, telling people, putting up Instagram stories, things like that. It takes time and it takes work, but it pays off. And it's part of having a podcast is marketing it, telling people you have it. If you don't have time, get your kid to do it for you, get your brother to do it for you, get somebody out there you trust to help you market it for sure. And that's little by little, if you do those things, you will become somewhat, if not wildly successful.
That's great advice. And
Yes.
kind of riffing off of that one. So, you talked about getting other people to help you with the podcast and things like that. How do you choose who to trust to be a part of your team, and what elements of the podcast that you delegate?
That's a great question. Most people have co-hosts for their shows. I usually have one, and it's mainly because I don't think I could talk to myself straight on for 45 minutes. I'm just not that guy. I need somebody to bounce things off of. I need people to answer questions and ask them. And frankly, I need someone to make fun of too. So, and typically that person is someone you've known for a while. So, I feel most people you chose to be your co-host, you've known them for a while. You're good friends with them. You have a good rapport. You can bounce stuff off each other. You can make fun of each other without the other one getting too mad. Things like that. So, choosing if you're gonna have a co-host, choosing a good one is key. That being said, if you're gonna choose a co-host, make sure they're as dedicated as you are. A lot of podcasts crumble. If you look on iTunes, you'll see a lot of podcasts maybe end at episode 10. You're like, hey, what happened? It's like, my co-host wasn't as into it as much as I was. My co-host couldn't commit to 1 hour a week. My co-host would flake every time his girlfriend needed him or whatever. Make sure they're as dedicated as you if you're going to pick somebody, because it's otherwise it's not going to work. That's a co-host is someone that will be there every week to record, no matter what. And that's very important in terms of consistency and putting out great episodes.
Yeah, that's very true. Dana and I can attest to that. We definitely there's times when she needs a break or I need a break, but somebody needs to be there, So,
Yep.
And we have a great community too.
Popped off or traffic.
Something. There's always something. But yeah, I mean, I think for us, part of building, the people that we bring on the show, we've had a couple folks that have become a part of our community.
Yeah.
That we work together too. So shout out to the Agents of Geekdom,
Yes.
and a lot of our other shows that we share space with. It is a very consistency is absolutely true.
Yeah.
I remember before I even started the podcast, I was trying to look at metrics, okay, how long what is the typical norm for podcasts? And I think it's pretty close to what you said, about 10 episodes, and then people disappear.
Yeah, you see a lot of them crumble after that. And it's like, what happened? It's like, my co-host or whatever. Drama. A lot of podcast drama out there for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt. So, yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. So and on top of that, like as Moana said earlier, what parts of the show do you delegate and which parts do you prioritize and oversee yourself?
I honestly, most shows I think I do most of the work. So, I'm a technology guy, so I set up the gear. I outline the episodes. I think it pretty much seems to be the theme in life is where I take on most of the work. Um, Sometimes I'll complain about it, but I think I rather prefer it that way. That way, things get done. Things. That way, things will get done. But I think collaboration is key as well. Most episodes, the way I prepare, I'll just write down a list of bullet points of things I want to talk about. Nothing crazy, maybe 5 or 6 topics that I really want to hit, and then I'll share that with my co-host for whatever show I'm doing. Like, hey, what do you think of these? Start thinking about these because this is what I want to talk about. Do you have anything to add? And most of the times they will. So it's a very collaborative process. And preparing that way, it doesn't take that long, 15, 20 minutes. And it's cool. And even if you don't cover everything that you wanted to in that list, save the other ones for next week. No wasted content, right? So, that's how I prepare with my co-hosts for sure.
So, question from the audience: what is your most memorable podcast guest?
Good question.
Good question. Yeah.
Of course, I have my famous friends that we've been on with us. Kevin Smith has hopped on with us a couple times. Very recently, Jeremy London from Mallrats came and jumped in and podcasted with us. That one was pretty good. Yeah, we've had numerous ones. For any of you kids from the '80s, particularly you kids who would maybe sneak your brother or dad's copy of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. One of our earliest celebrity guests was a supermodel by the name of Paulina Portskova, if anybody remembers her. If you've ever watched any of the Cars videos from back in the day, she is featured in many of them. And she's got a very big social media presence now, kind of encouraging. She's older, but she still looks stunning. But she's kind of fighting anybody against ageism out there right now, of which there are many people. So, and she's got a pretty good presence out there. It just so happened they were doing a series of TED Talks in our hometown. We connected with them. We interviewed a lot of their presenters, but they were like, "Hey, so our big headliner is Paulina. Do you want to interview her?" We're like, "Yeah, can you make it happen?" And all this one day, she's in our studio that we we had to clean up because we had action figures and it was like 40-year-old virgin. We put everything in the next room. We left some geek stuff out. We didn't hide all of it, but we were like, not every day you get a supermodel come into your studio, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. A little bit. Got to keep a little bit of yourself out there, no matter what you do, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So I liked what you were talking about earlier about envisioning like a podcast alley at a comic book convention. What advice and tips would you have, or like gear recommendation for folks who are like wanting to do a mobile podcast when you're on the go at conventions, show and events? Because
So what's great is when I started out 13 years ago, we were using gear more aimed toward musicians because there was no podcast gear back then. So, the mixing boards back then were a little older, overly complicated, and for podcasters, not really feature ridden. We're flipping knobs and dials just to get good vocal recording, and that was it. Now, if you're starting a podcast, you're very lucky because you can go to a Guitar Center or Best Buy, and there's a specific section that says podcast gear on it. Like you can go to Best Buy and pick up specific podcast gear. The recorders are super portable now. So I use ones by a company called Zoom, not the video conferencing software, but the audio gear company called Zoom. You can find them on zoom.us. Wait, no, that's the other Zoom. Zoomsound.com. Sorry, I screwed that up. I think Zoom Sound is the website for their gear. Big fan of their recorders. They make one called the PodTrack P4, which is about this big, size of a couple cigarette packets, and very easy to use, affordable. I think it's under $200, and you literally take that and a $40 microphone to a convention and start interviewing people. It's battery operated. You pretty much hit a record button and you're off and running. So, Zoom actually came up with a new product. It's in the shape of a microphone, but it's got a recorder built in. It's called the Mic Track M2, which just came out. And full disclosure, they came down. I shot a whole ad with them using it. I went around to a farmer's market and interviewed people with it, and it was pretty cool. My intention is to take one of those and go to Comic Cons and interview people. So it's literally one device that you hit record, and that's all you have to worry about. But there's so much great gear out there. If you want to record, especially if you want to record at home, but if you want to go mobile and record at a Comic Con, there's some very easy to use, very affordable gear out there for sure.
Thank you. That was a selfish question.
No, not at all.
Always looking to evolve the mobile gear for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's fun. It's fun going around the cons, interviewing guests, and then people who come, but artists, cosplayers, like interviewing the people who love going to cons.
Yes. Yeah, getting all the different perspectives is really cool. For
Yeah, sure. And one day I'm hoping all the celebrity guests, once they see the podcast alley that we build, they're going to want to go over and spend 5 minutes with each of them.
Yeah. Answer a question or two. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they will. If you look, a lot of celebrities, especially ones going to Comic Cons, they have their own podcasts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they were like, wait, I can start my own show and speak freely and not have a PR person hanging over me, telling me what I can and can't say. I can finally tell that one story I've been meaning to tell, but maybe it wasn't PC enough for a press junket or a TV interview. But now, they can tell the real story. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is one of the great things about conventions, and even talking to like your favorite artists, your favorite creators. Like they'll share stories that they won't, put on like larger mainstream media
sure.
because they just can't. So yeah, it's been fun.
Nice. So Ming, another question is, what advice or tips would you give to those wanting to launch their own podcast?
I would, if you have questions about gear or technical questions about how to get it distributed or anything like that, talk to other podcasters. As we know now, there are no shortage of podcasters out there. I mean, chances are you probably know one, if not 5 or 10 or 20. Talk to other podcasters. We are very open with our information, whether it be gear or technical aspects or how to book guests or whatever. It's a very, very open community. And I think a lot of people who started, they're not audio engineers. They didn't go to broadcast school. So they learned everything themselves, or they asked a friend or somebody to help them out. So once they got there, they're like, oh, hey, I got this far. I'm going to help other people. And with the goal of, maybe shortening, flattening that learning curve, and helping them out to have a great experience faster than we did. Basically, what we do is just teach them enough so they don't make the same mistakes we did. So that's probably my biggest advice. There's so many podcasters out there. Start asking questions. I would walk everyone through Amazon if they wanted to if they want to learn what gear to buy. I wish I could go to everybody, to Guitar Store or Best Buy. I was like, all right, this one's cool. This one's not that easy to use. This one's terrible. Get this one. Like, I would love to do that with people, but I think there are plenty enough people out there that'll help you out like that.
Yeah, there's lots of great podcasts, like recommendations from podcasters. So YouTube's your friend. Definitely find a lot of information from that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we're just about at the closing of the hour. So we'll do one last question, Ming, and that is, what would 10-year-old Ming find the most impressive about adult Ming's life?
Probably that he got to not only work at a comic book shop later in life, but not only that, but work at a very prominent comic book shop, with a guy that makes movies. And I think he would be impressed that future Ming got to meet Batman from the 1966 TV show, Adam
Oh,
West. And not only that, but got the drag race with him, dress up like Kato and drive the Black Beauty against him. I think that would be
awesome.
that would blow 10-year-old Ming Chen's mind for sure, for sure. The other thing I think would blow his mind is like, hey, all this stuff that you love is going to be really cool one day.
Mhm.
Like girls are going to want to talk to you about Star Wars and Jedi mind tricks and and AT-ATs. Because when I was 10, that didn't exist. So I think little me would be impressed that girls are walking out in public in Star Wars gear, shirts, cosplay, bikinis, R2D2 bathing suits. Like I
Yeah.
think 10-year-old Ming would be like, no way, man, that'll never happen, but it did.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. As a Star Wars fan myself, yes, I approve that
Yeah,
message.
Mhm.
And I think just in general, like love what you love.
Yes.
That's life is short. Love what you love.
yeah.
And
Buy the toys.
Mhm.
yeah,
Buy the toys.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
buy the toys. That's a good buy the toys.
Exactly. Because it's gonna be worth something.
Yeah.
Some of them you never know.
Keep them in good condition.
Mhm.
Yes, that's a good way to build wealth for sure. Alrighty. Well, this was an amazing podcast, Ming. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
thanks,
think
guys.
it's just a great balance of audience engagement. So thank you to everybody who tuned in as well, and for all of your
Yes.
wonderful
Thank
questions
you.
to enrich this episode. We absolutely love it. And if you guys loved it too, please hit the share button, like, subscribe to the Agents of Geekdom on Twitch and YouTube. I think we're really close to hitting partners. So
Nice.
if you guys can help us get there, that'll be
Need
amazing.
40 more. 40 more. 40
Yeah,
more people.
so close, so close, so close. So if you can share it around with your friends, we definitely appreciate it. Of course, if you still have more questions about podcasting, check out ashareduniverse.com. You can book time with Ming either to learn or to have him come on your show, or even like record your show with him in the studio. If you're
Yeah,
in
we
the
can do it like this. You don't have to be in New Jersey. We can do it like this. We
Yeah.
have been doing it like this. It's great.
Yeah. So definitely check out what he's doing, and we wish him all the best as he continues to expand his little empire of podcast studios around the country. Love to see all of your success, Ming, and hopefully will you be at Baltimore this year?
I'm working on it. We haven't been there since we shot it. We actually shot an episode there in 2016. Actually, it might have been earlier, but it's been a while. I think we need to come back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you do,
Yeah.
yes, we'll definitely.
Let me start pulling those strings, and I would love to be there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much again for tuning in to our show. It's great. We had Ming, Dana, and I were able to be together again, and we had a wonderful audience in the show. So this will be definitely one of our
Yes.
highlights for 2023, I think. And we look forward to everything else that you're doing, Ming. Definitely keep us in the loop. Let us know if we can help.
No, yeah. I hope I see
word
you guys
out.
soon. Chances are I will. So I look forward to that.
For sure. Alrighty, everybody. Dana, any last thoughts before we close out tonight?
Not at this time. Of course. Definitely, we shared the link. Definitely reach out to Ming. If you are in the Jersey area and you would like to sign up, guys, once again, go to ashareduniverse.com to get your insight, and also reach out if you want to schedule, like Ming was saying, if you're not there, to do some virtual classes with him and his team to learn more of all the things if you have a show yourself. And of course, look for Ming at a con near you. And if he's not on the lineup, every con has a way you can send a recommendation of someone you would like to see at the con. Send his information over so a con can book him and have him there so you can meet him in person. So, and of course, if you want to see the Moana Nui podcast there, let us know, recommend us. Moana, of course, children book author, me doing my photography, voice acting, and as a show as a whole covering the con. Also, definitely recommend us too, because I know a lot of y'all want to see us, but you got to recommend us. But of course, everybody, thank you so much for joining. For those that will be at BlurCon next week, I will see you there. I'll be there with actor and voice actor and singer Alan Z. He'll be helping to cover BlurCon with me and a couple other people. So if you see us, stop us and say hi. We'll be at BlurCon, like I said, next weekend. So we definitely look forward to seeing anybody from the audience there next weekend. But that's it for me.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks again. And hope you guys have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Have fun, stay safe, and we will see you guys next time. Aloha.
Aloha.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then. When they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the Native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom, clapped back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.